Yo, what's good? It's your man 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. Today I want to do this video about why Terrence Bud Crawford is going to have a hell of a time trying to change his image in the eyes of the media. If you enjoy this video, smash the like button for me. It's definitely a conversation starter, but I think it's one that's worthwhile having. I've gotten into the sport of boxing, probably pretty late compared to some, probably over the last 7-8 years. And Terrence Bud Crawford was a name that I was exposed to early. But it was a name that came after Errol Spence Jr., who was rightly so deemed as one of the hottest fighters, competitors in the sport of boxing. What he was doing was nothing short of amazing and transformative. And we saw him, I think many of us saw him as the heir apparent to Floyd Mayweather. We had the Adrian Broner, wannabes, the guys who we thought were going to be something and didn't pan out. But then we saw Errol the Truth Spence and was like, yo, this is the dude. But shortly behind him, we also saw Terrence Bud Crawford coming. And we saw this man move up from 140 pounds, dominating and becoming undisputed at that level, at that weight class. And then moving up to 147 and immediately calling out Errol Spence Jr. Now, I think Errol Spence was very transparent. And he was like, look, I'm clearing out my side and then we can get down. And I got it. I was of the frustrated, contingency when he re-signed with Bob Arum. And I was like, man, what are you doing, man? Like, that's going to make this fight even harder to have. And it's the fight that we all want to see. But there was something to note that, I'm going to be honest, the media, as much as they wanted to see that fight, they also kind of had their mind made up of who they were going to favor. And that was Errol Spence Jr. And this is kind of the crux of what this video is about. Like, it's kind of sad to see that even today, as Terrence Bud Crawford, at the pinnacle of his career, who is now a 2-time undisputed 2-division champion, is still trying to reshape his image in the eyes of the media, who continue to relegate him to his past. And what's interesting is it's not even just like necessarily like, say, white media, mainstream, ESPN, top rank type, Showtime type. It's even black media outlets, independent outlets, like even Showtime Sean Porter, right? Who focus in so heavily on his past, where he's come from. Running the streets, being shot, right? Mama making him fight everybody, and constantly talking about probably a part of his life that I'm not going to say he wants to move on from, but I'm pretty sure he wants to be clear that he's grown as a man and is far more than just his origins. Now the dope part about it, this is why I'm definitely a Terrence Crawford fan, is he doesn't diminish or put down his origins. He ain't got no shame about it. He don't act like, hey, these streets is whack and distancing himself. He's not judging nobody from it. He's like, look, this is what it was. This is what it is. And I got mad love and mad respect for everybody in my hood, in my neighborhood, in the streets where I basically came from and cut my teeth. And I got nothing but respect for that, because I like to think that I'm the same type of brother that coming from the east side of San Jose. It's like, look, we all come from our own hoods. And trying to compare them is stupid. It's stupid because they change over time. Because the same hood that you thought was this one day might get gentrified the next day, and it ain't that no more. And that's the truth. Because I've lived in some hoods. And they change. So the reality is we all come from where we come from. And I'm the type of brother that I would like to think that I'm always going to have love for my neighborhood that I was born and raised in, that I cut my teeth in, that I learned some hard lessons in, that I had some really close calls and lost some friends in. Lost some to violence and lost some to incarceration and lost some to other situations. But it's to say that the fact that he stays true, I think, is one of the reasons why he resonates with a lot of us. And at the same time, I can also recognize a man who's also trying to show that he's grown to be a whole lot more than that. And it doesn't diminish it. Matter of fact, it only brings praise to it to say, like, look, this helped me to become the man I am today. And as he looks to kind of reshape his image, I'm recognizing that it's going to be an uphill battle. You know, it's one of those things where I think media in general has a lot of stereotypes and biases. And some of it is how we perceive people, right? We look at Terrence Bud Crawford and his family and the way they celebrate in the ring. And I think if we're honest, you know, some of this is an in-house conversation, but we look at it and we go, oh, that's ghetto. That's hood. And then we define it by our own projections of what we think that is. And I think at times what we also do is we minimize everything else that it also is. You know, he was talking with Sean Porter and he was talking about, Sean was bringing up how his kid was, acting bad at the celebration thing. And you kind of see Bud like, well, why didn't you just check him? And he was like, man, I didn't know how people was going to respond. And acting like you couldn't trust his people. Acting like they was just going to be on some hood shit and they don't care about keeping their kids in line. And, and I was like, damn, Sean, that's how you see him? Like, you don't believe you could check, like this your boy. You know what I mean? And I could kind of see on Bud's face, he was like, nah, we check our kids. Nah, you can check them. You a grown man. I raised them better than that. Even if they some rough kids, they still know better. They still got some act right. And that's a part of the uphill battle is changing his image, even in the minds of the people who might even be closest to him in the boxing game. People who have known him for throughout his career, throughout his lifetime in this sport. And even them struggling to see him as more than just his origins, right? Now, it's interesting because I recognize that it's hard for America to be nuanced just in general because we don't present things in nuance. We present things in a very binary fashion where it's either this or that, right? You either come from this side of the tracks or that side of the tracks. You're either the chosen and desirable or you are the undesirable. And it was interesting because at the beginning of that interview on Sean Porter's podcast, there was another brother who talks about at the very beginning, he was like, there's this colorism aspect. There was a colorism aspect that when you come from where you come from and you present yourself how you do, and you're a dark-skinned brother, how you are viewed has a very distinct kind of impact in media, where how you're interacted with it and how people look at you and also the opportunities that they afford you. Because it was interesting to note, you look at him on Top Rank and you got Vasily Lomachenko being boosted up by Bob Arum. Excuse me. He's getting all the hype. Even when Terrence Bud Crawford is undisputed, doing far more in the boxing game than Lomachenko ever did. And yet he can't get any love. Even when Bud is fighting, it's still all about Lomachenko because he's not the chosen one. He's not the one that mainstream outlets want to embrace, want to create narratives to figure out how to embrace. And I got to give props to, places like the Lions Den boxing community, LDBC. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to give props to media outlets that are specifically saying, hey, we want to support black fighters. We want to make sure that they get the love and that we create the narratives that actually maximize opportunities for them, that create opportunities for them to maximize their earning potential in a game where your lifespan in it might be real short, that you're putting your life on the line night in and night out. And you should be able to have the opportunity to make every cent that you can because of the sacrifice that you're making. And they were tired of seeing black fighters not get that opportunity because of the colorism, because of the racism, because of the stereotypes, because of the narratives created that favor certain outlooks and certain images more than others, right? And this is a part of the uphill battle that Terrence Bud Crawford has to climb. Now, I'm not going to say that he's made every decision that I think he should have in terms of re-signing with Bob Arum versus coming over to the PBC, because we saw that the moment he did, all of a sudden he started getting the fights, right? That was how this fight was made, was leaving Top Rank and going over to PBC, right? But at the same time, I also have to respect that he reminds me of the Jack Johnsons, the Muhammad Alis, the Wilt Chamberlains, guys who kind of marched to the beat of their own drum for better, for worse. Jack Johnson's autobiography, he calls it unforgivable blackness. And I love that moniker. I love that idea because unforgivable is saying, look, I have the audacity to be every bit of me, whether it's in alignment with how you think I need to show up, regardless of what community that you come from, whether it's my own community, Jack Johnson coming out of Galveston, Texas, right? One of the greatest fighters of all time, who revolutionized the sport, right? Who did things we probably will never see again, especially in the heavyweight ranks, right? And at times, even his own people was like, yo, you're doing too much. Don't do it that way. Do it this way. And he said, you know what? Nobody is going to create boundaries for me. And for better or for worse, I'm going to be every bit of who I am. Now, if we're real about it, mainstream media did not want Bud Crawford to win. Mainstream media did not want him to be that dude. They did not want him to be dominant. They did not want him to put out the performance that he did. They wanted somebody that made them feel a little bit more comfortable to be the victor. They wanted Errol Spence. And it's not to take anything away from Errol Spence. Errol Spence is a true brother. He's definitely a man after Terrence Crawford's own heart. You can see the respect that they have for one another. You can see how they talk about one another. We have to give praise. I'm going to be honest, so much praise that they did not go out there and tear each other down every single time they got an opportunity to on those stages promoting the fight. They weren't sitting there talking about how trash the other one is and trying to build up this negativity that we understand mainstream media has created for black boxers. They've made it to where there's this idea that there can only be one of us who's great and the other one has to be less. And that if you guys are tearing each other down, it makes for a great competitive fight because that's the only way we can believe that you're going to give your all, is if you're talking terribly about them and you're tearing the other black fighter down, and that somehow is indicative of how competitive the fight is going to be. They don't talk up brotherhood. They don't talk up coming together, right? The Deontay Wilders, they couldn't wait to see him lose to a Tyson Fury because he was doing the same thing, talking brotherhood, talking coming together and collaborating. He tried to bring Anthony Joshua in on it, but he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. But it's to say that there's a certain type of fighter. There's a certain type of chosen one. There's a certain type of person that they want to be the face of a sport. And it has very little to do with what is uplifting and what is empowering for the black community or for black fighters. And so I have nothing but respect for the journey that Terrence Bud Crawford is on. And make no mistake about it, it's going to be an uphill one. It is not going to be easy because they can't wait to see him lose. They can't wait to see him get dethroned. Because right now, he's at the top. Right now, he's king of Wakanda. Right now, he's kind of on top of the world. You ain't got but two faces in boxing. Canelo and Terrence Bud Crawford. And only one of them are undefeated. Only one of them are two-time undisputed on two different weight classes. You only have one that's put out such a dominant performance against somebody who's right at the top of the pound-for-pound rankings. Canelo ain't facing nobody at the pound-for-pound at the top. He's not facing David Benavidez. He's not doing that. He's taking probably the lesser of the two Charlos, right? He's not taking the same risks. He's not daring to be great at the same level. And yet, mainstream media wants who they want. And so he shares the face of boxing. Okay, it is what it is. But make no mistake about it. Him changing his image, him trying to define himself and stay true to himself and not allow mainstream media to put him into a box of who he is and put out the stereotypes, it's not going to be easy. And it's going to take all of us to embrace that he's his own man, that he's unforgivable blackness and every bit of greatness. And I hope that we can go with him on this ride, no matter how far it takes him, whether he loses a title or whether he stays at the top and rides off into the sunset. Yo, this is once again is Ross with The Rock Never Stops. It's kind of a new, different type of video I'm doing, but I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comment section, because like I said, I think it is a conversation that is worth having, whether we're in the boxing community, sporting community, or any other part of the community. What do you guys think? Get at me in the comment section. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I'm going to holler at y'all next time. Peace.